on tonight?
We're here outside of Baltimore's Penn Station. The reason we selected this site is we're very, very close to the tunnel that will be used to transport radioactive nuclear waste. Right now, Yucca Mountain is more or less shut down. The people in Nevada who are very sane believe they don't want the rest of the country's nuclear waste. But if ever the politicians decide to open up Yucca Mountain to waste materials, nuclear waste, Calvert Cliffs would send its nuclear waste through Baltimore onto Yucca Flats. You're a Baltimore resident, and you probably remember in 2001 when this train with chemicals on it derailed and closed the Baltimore downtown for 2 weeks. Imagine if that train was carrying nuclear wastes. So today, September 29th in 1957, there was a radioactive waste explosion in the Soviet Union. It was covered up. Most people have no idea that it happened, but it was debilitating, and it more or less prefigured Chernobyl. So we are here today, September 29th. People are gathering around the world to protest the transport of radioactive waste. And I think anyone that understands the situation, how do we get rid of transporting nuclear waste? Well, we don't produce any more nuclear waste. The current situation with Constellation Energy and their foreign friends, EDF, looks economically like a basket case. So it's too early to declare victory, but we're very, very confident that the Crab Shell Alliance and other anti-nuke groups are going to be successful in stopping the third nuclear reactor at Calvert Cliffs.
Now, who's planning all this, Mac? Is this the federal government or a federal agency? Who allows all this stuff?
Well, it's a sad state of affairs because anyone that has studied the problem knows that nuclear energy can't possibly be done in quote-unquote the free market. So our new president is following up what the previous president was doing and is making money available, federal tax dollars available to companies that are building reactors. There was $3 billion given to, $8.3 million given to a consortium in Georgia. It's being held up though because of environmental concerns. We were expected to be number 2. In other words, the state of Maryland and Calvert Cliffs. Steny Hoyer quoted in the Baltimore Sun, this is going to be a great boon. And the real issue is nuclear energy is not the answer to climate chaos. What we really, really need are renewables. Any money that the politicians want to devote towards nuclear energy should instead be used for renewables. Give companies, nonprofits, whatever, money to develop the technology for wind turbines, for solar energy. I'm sure you know this, but just in case you did not see, the New York Times, September 10th, there was a photograph in there of a wind turbine. The wind turbine was built in China. It was being sold to the U.S. Army, and they were going to use this wind turbine in Utah. That's criminal. That is criminal that we can't produce wind turbines in this country. I'm sure you also know that Jimmy Carter had solar panels installed on the White House. And in 1976, he predicted what was probably going to happen. We could go either way. Ronald Reagan becomes the president and takes down the solar panels. Bill McKibben and students from the great state of Vermont brought one of those solar panels down to the White House to try to convince the Obama administration to reinstall it. We need our federal government, we need our legislators to support renewables and not nuclear energy.
How close are we to having something like this to happen, Max, to bringing this radioactive stuff through the city? How close are we to that happening?
Well, there is transport of low-level nuclear waste going on right now. The spent fuel, though, from a nuclear power plant is not being transported at this time. Most states are refusing to accept any type, even low-level nuclear waste. Before you go, you'll get one of our handouts, a leaflet we have about the transportation of low-level nuclear waste.
Well, I do remember the accident you're referring to, and it could have been horrific.
Exactly. If I remember,
it happened in a tunnel. They couldn't have access to it. It was a real big problem.
Exactly. And more recently, in August of 2010, a train derailed in that tunnel. Imagine if it was carrying some toxic, chemical, radioactive waste. I don't understand the politicians' love of nuclear energy. It's a proven failure. It's a proven failure. For anyone to suggest that this is the answer to climate chaos, it's a ridiculous argument. But Obama himself has said there's such a thing as clean coal. I mean, these politicians are bought and sold by the energy companies.
And your name?
I'm Maria Allwine. I am the Green Party candidate for governor of Maryland. I have always been opposed to nuclear power. I've done a lot of work on the utility deregulation issue here in Maryland, and very opposed to the building of the Calvert Cliffs 3 new nuclear plant. I do think there's a very good chance that Calvert Cliffs 3 will not be built. Mostly because they cannot get the federal loan guarantees, but also because there's a lot of issues with the partnership between Électricité de France and Constellation Energy. So hopefully things will progress to the point where they're just not able to construct Calvert Cliffs 3, which would be the best thing that could happen to the state of Maryland regarding our energy needs. You know, nuclear power is not safe. It's not clean, and it is most certainly not affordable. All you have to do is look at what's happened to the nuclear power plants being built in Finland and one in Flamanville, France, and it's the same type of reactor they want to build at Calvert Cliffs 3. Those projects have been plagued with years of cost overruns, obviously way behind schedule. Activists in both countries are opposing the construction of these plants, plagued with safety issues, and how any politician, anyone either in office or hoping to be in office, could think that building this kind of nuclear reactor or any kind of nuclear reactor here in Maryland is a good thing for the citizens is lying to people. Nuclear power is dangerous, and nuclear power should be a thing of the past. In fact, it must be a thing of the past. We have the technology and the markets for renewable energy. What's needed, and this takes political leadership, what's needed is the investment, the massive state and of course federal investment to bring those two together, the technology and the markets. Maryland should be leading the way on this, and yet we are not. It's a matter of priorities. Governor O'Malley found $2.5 billion to construct the Intercounty Connector, a road that so many people and communities did not want, and certainly something that serves the culture of our cars, which also is going to be a thing of the past. It's just a question of how long it's going to take us. So they find $2.5 billion for that, but they cannot find the money to create a new manufacturing sector here in Maryland, to put people back to work, to construct the wind turbines and the solar panel farms, and to manufacture the parts for these industries. So it takes political leadership to move Maryland into the 21st century on energy. And unfortunately, at this point, we don't have it. And I'm certainly hoping that people will vote for me on November 2nd, because that's the kind of political leadership I'll bring to the state. And that's really all I wanted to say. But thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay.